Jason, I don't think we're ever going to get to stop podcasting. I think it's going to be forever now. Just forever.
God, it's like Sisyphus.
Yeah.
It's like push the podcast up the hill. Oh, it rolls down the other side. Push the podcast up the other side. Oh, it rolls down the other side. It's never ending.
It's like
it's never gonna end.
We got done yesterday with our E3 coverage, and it was like, oh yeah, it's Sunday. We need to record another podcast. Not like we put out. Okay, let's count them up, Jason. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 podcasts last week that were almost all an hour long. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, welcome everybody to Rage Select. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jason.
And welcome to the as yet still unnamed podcast. We really need to, now that we're back, we really need to just hunker down and come up with a name for some of these things because I'm getting tired of calling them all unnamed whatever thing. We're just going to start calling them by different animal names. This will be like Project Marmot or something.
Project Dolphin.
Project Dolphin. No, that's already been taken.
Yeah, that's something else.
But hey, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? We have our international correspondent, everybody's favorite limey git, Nick Hodges. Say hello, Nick.
Hello, everybody. Good to be back.
Because we needed a young man's perspective on E3. How have you been doing recently, Nick?
I've been doing okay. I've just been keeping myself busy with this project I've got on the side, but I'm really pumped up and looking forward to seeing you guys in a few weeks.
Yes, at RTX/spill.con. You guys should all come on the weekend of July 4th and get done with the obligatory pimping out. Tell me more. Do you want to talk a little bit about this special project or this new project that you're doing?
Okay, well, it's going to be something a little bit different from video games, but it's going to be a historical film review show. It's going to be a video review, and the first one would. Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Go on.
I thought it was Jason for a second doing that.
No, Jason was being respectful. I was the one. No, I'm sorry. Go on. Historical film reviews.
Yeah, we're going to be, myself and a friend of mine, we're going to be reviewing history films. So the first one we're doing is Zulu, and we were considering maybe doing the Patriot next, or U-571. And
the Patriot is 100% historically accurate.
Right, yeah. We'll see about that when I review it. But I've just been focusing more on Zulu, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's turning out. We're just finishing up on editing now, so hopefully it'll be ready by Wednesday.
Are you? Where are you putting it? Are you putting it on YouTube? Or you got a site that you're hosting it on?
Well, I was actually hoping that by the time I see you guys, I think I'll be arriving in Texas on June the 24th. Mm-hmm. So around about that time, since I'm arriving a little bit early, I was hoping that we guys could get together, have a few pints, and then I could show it to you and get your professional opinion on it.
Okay. But what I'm asking is, if the listeners want to see this, I mean, when you guys get it all put together, can they go to like a YouTube channel, or do you have a place right now that you're hosting it?
Don't have a place right now. I think I could post it up on my YouTube channel, but I think maybe I could ask you guys if you wouldn't mind letting the listeners know out there when it's going to be placed up or where it's going to be placed.
We'll see.
So, yeah.
We'll see.
No promises, right?
It'll be on London Public Access Channel 54 at 3 a.m.
Right.
You're coming into town. I think, Nick, that if you needed us to help promote your show, I'm personally very fond of briefcases full of money.
Right. Okay.
But
what about briefcases of Monopoly money? Because I got that because I don't play Monopoly anymore.
No, I mean I take a briefcase full of beer over a briefcase full of Monopoly money any day of the week. But I think
in the bottles, or just poured into the briefcase.
Poured into the briefcase. You just open it up and then you ladle out a mug full of beer whenever you need it, and you just flush it around.
That's what was in Marcellus Wallace's briefcase.
Right. Blue ribbon. That's all there was.
Yeah, I'll bring over some British booze, and you can try that. If it's enough to make Corey go mental and crack his head on a roof beam or whatever, then it might be good for a little bit of shits and giggles.
I tell you what, that's a pretty decent segue into we had Spill.con last year. I managed to stave off the fan attempts to kill us with liquor pretty well. But, I didn't do so well at the meetup in L.A. at all.
You did fine.
Okay, give us some details. Like, what exactly happened there?
I just, we went to Trader Vic's, and we had a bunch of people who showed up. It was a lovely, lovely time.
Trader Vic's sucked.
Yeah, Trader Vic's was like a tiki bar had sex with dubstep or something. It was very strange. But I think the problem was that I started out with one of those with one of their tiki drinks, one of their island drinks, which I don't normally drink mixed drinks very much anymore for kind of just this reason.
It was a Mai Tai.
Yep, it was a Mai Tai. But it was like somehow, I don't know, like all of the rules of drinking just fell out of my brain. Because it's like, I'll have a Mai Tai, and then a beer, and then I want another Mai Tai. And yeah, I'll take those shots of tequila. And sure, how about, just like mixing stuff up and doing bad stuff and taking shots. And so
there are no rules with drinking, Jeff. Rules are for pussies.
Yeah, I'm not as experienced of a drinker though, Jason. I drink on Friday and Saturday to keep my tolerance low. And I mean, when we went to that thing, I don't know about you, but I was already exhausted when we started from all of the running around E3 and podcasting and cabbing all over the place and all that stuff. So I was maybe a little bit less or more susceptible to the ravages of alcoholic-induced stupid than I normally would be. But yeah, and then we left there and we lost a bunch of people, and then we kind of went to another place that was a lot closer to where we were. And you guys were all like, "We're going to the snack bar or whatever it was." What was it? The
Shortstop.
Shortstop. Yeah, it was the name of something around these parts. And I go there with, I jump in the car with Christian Alvarez, and I go down there. I'm there, and I'm like, where the fuck are those guys? It turns out that you guys had decided, like, mid-route to just go down the street somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then once we walked down to that place, you guys were on your way out as soon as I ordered a beer. And so then we left there, and we went back to the Shortstop, and I was just fucking bananas wasted at that point. And I remember at the end of the night just, like getting really upset about something and then just walking off down the street, like stumbling off down the street in a daze. So
was it a big turnout though? Like how many people came up?
What would you say, Jason?
What? 20? Something like that?
Something like that at Trader Vic's, and then we had maybe 8 to 10 who came with us for the final end of the night.
Yeah.
You guys that all came out fucking super, super nice. And, I appreciate the fact that this E3, we didn't have a meetup where nobody showed up. So,
yeah.
But no, it was really nice. It was great. If anybody that was there at the end of the night got offended by me walking away, I'm real sorry. I was way too drunk. And I have now learned my lesson about when somebody, cause you guys probably know this a little bit. Like sometimes you guys that are fans, you really want to get us wasted. And you come up and you shove shots and drinks and stuff in our face. And like being from Austin, and Nick, I don't know if it's the same for you, but Jason, I'd be willing to bet it's the same for you. But being from Austin, I find that it's really kind of like, I don't want to turn down a drink. It's a free drink.
Yeah.
No, you never turn down a drink. It's, it's impolite. Like they spend a good hard-earned money on getting you wasted. You should oblige.
Yes.
Exactly. And he did.
And I did. I'm not going to at RTX. I'm sorry. I want to carry on a conversation that doesn't involve me slurring and stumbling off down the street and shit like that. So
yeah, it got a little spotty for me. My prime directive was, wait, find Jeff. Did he go to the place? I don't remember exactly walking home or parts of it. Unfortunately, we were right around the corner from the bar, and I think I showed up like 15 minutes or so after at the house after you did, and then just immediately passed out.
Yeah, and we spent most of the next day just like, it was like, I'm going down to this store. What do you want? Gatorade and chips. I want Gatorade and potato chips. But neither one of us managed to seriously injure ourselves. I don't think anybody got caught on fire. I don't think anybody walked a tab or got in a car accident or anything like that. So as far as I can tell, a success was had by all at that point.
No, we could change to that RTX though, right? Because we've got way more days of drinking to get up to.
No, I can't do that.
Yeah, I'm not. No.
No Spider Jason, no asshole Spider-Man this year, Jason?
No asshole Spider-Man this year.
Oh, that was the funniest part of the whole convention last year. I missed it as well. Like, who Who's the guy who caught you? Like, there was this, was it Jordan?
Jordan, I think, carried the brunt of my weight. Yes. Which, he's not a big muscular dude, you know.
No,
so.
definitely not.
Isn't there is some video of that out on the internet, isn't there?
There is indeed. there is a video. Yeah.
I've been looking. I've been scouring, or actually scouring. Last night, I spent about 5 minutes looking online, see if I could find that footage of Conan O'Brien with you behind it, and
yeah,
couldn't find it anywhere. But you know what? Before we move on, we've got a little bit of news to talk about. We've got a bunch of emails. There wasn't a whole hell of a lot of news because E3 was this week, so people tend not to do really, really nutty shit and announce things. I mean, it was all basically rolled into our E3 stuff. But you know what I really want to do is I want to ask Nick, did you watch all the E3 coverage?
I watched, I think, the highlights of the E3 coverage. I wasn't able to watch all of it. Mm-hmm. But, I definitely checked out a lot of Xbox One, just to see how it was going to compare to the PlayStation, and I'm happy to say that it doesn't look like it's going to compare that well to the PlayStation 4.
That's the prevailing sentiment, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember people having a go at PlayStation 4's conference when it was first announced, and I think they're taking back a lot of what they said now.
Oh, you mean the original announcement that was like 3 months
right.
or so?
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, it was funny how they did that, and there were, the stuff they showed, like a lot of it was focused on some weird, I mean, like Knack and like that thing for the Little Big Planet guys where you create your own little puppets or whatever, and a real there was a lot of kind of like precious stuff in there, and everybody was like, I don't know, I didn't really see like any real games that I wanted to play. And then Xbox One had their announcement conference, and everybody was like, well, at least it wasn't fucking TV for 25 minutes with like 2 games.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
There's a video on YouTube where someone's edited all the times that they say TV at the Xbox announcement, and it goes on for like 2 or 3 minutes just constantly of them saying TV, 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 NFL, NFL, Halo.
Yep, I've seen that. It's pretty funny. But so, I mean, well, let me ask you. I mean, this is, we're coming up on a new generation that you get to enter into with your console of choice. Is there anything that the Xbox One, did you see anything from the Xbox One that would maybe convince you to get one?
Maybe not convince me. There was one game that I was, interested and was wanting to play until I found out that it was an exclusive. And you're going to think this is weird, but it's that Rise Roman game where, so I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my god, you get to play as a Roman general, third person, you get to be in the thick of the action, and then you see all these quick time events come up, and that was like quite disappointing, I felt, because they really had something cool going on there.
Game, they didn't show that game the right way. They really didn't show that game the right way, because whenever everybody watched that, all they got was the quick time events. And when I got a chance to watch somebody else play it kind of close up and see the flow of combat, it really wasn't as much of that. I mean, the quick time events were finishers instead of, rather than just like every attack being a quick time event. But I don't know. So, but other than that, other than Rise, what do you think? Anything from the Xbox lineup that would maybe convince you to buy an Xbox One instead of a PlayStation 4?
Not especially. I think I'm much more interested in just getting the PlayStation 4. I mean, I think it's continued being more gamer-centric, if that makes any sense, whereas I feel like with the Xbox, they're trying to make it more of a entertainment system. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely the approach. There's no question about it, and it's, I don't know, the more you think about it, it's like, wow, Sony won the E3 race, I guess you could say, just by not being Microsoft.
Yeah, and what's weird is that the PlayStation 4 is going to be cheaper than the Xbox.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I remember when people bought the Xbox 360, one of the reasons they got it was because it was cheaper than the PlayStation 3. So it is a complete role reversal.
Well, I was talking with somebody last night about this. I think the funniest thing about and don't get me wrong, like, I understand right now it's super fun to hate Microsoft. it's real easy and it's super fun, especially because nobody has taped Don Mattrick's mouth shut yet, and he keeps saying things, and every time he says something, they have a new mess to clean up. But like the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 comparison is almost identical to what happened with the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. Like the PlayStation, when PlayStation 3 was originally announced, you know, Sony was all high on the hog from the PlayStation 2, and they came out swinging with their nuts out, saying it's going to be $700, and like, yeah, that's it. And they didn't have like, a lot of the functionality the Xbox had. Like the PlayStation didn't handle your friends list very well. I mean, it didn't have trophy support for the first couple years. I don't know if you guys remember, but it used to be the PlayStation 3, if you had Netflix, you had to get a disc.
That's right.
I mean, there was a lot of things about the PlayStation that it had a really rocky start, not to mention that for the first 2 or 3 years the PS3 was out, the games on it that were multi-platform consistently looked like shit on the PlayStation 3. Or they didn't, I mean, you know, that's a bit of exaggeration. They didn't look like last-gen games, but they almost always looked worse on the PlayStation 3. So you had this console that was more expensive, that gave you less functionality, and was not as well put together, or not well put together, but just didn't do things as seamlessly and as smoothly as the Xbox 360 did. And yet Sony was so confident in their market position that they came out there with their junk out, saying like, well, you know, I mean, it's expensive, so I guess you got to get a second job. I mean, some of this shit that we're seeing with these gaffes from Microsoft, the same thing was happening with Sony when they announced the PlayStation 3. And it's just weird to look at this because it's like this total role reversal where the PlayStation is offering a system that's cheaper and probably a little bit more streamlined with a little bit less junk hanging off of it. And Microsoft seems so confident in the Xbox's market position that they're like, yeah, fuck it. It's $100 more than the other console. Like, just that fact all by itself is insane at this time, with like the margins on stuff are so thin that the PlayStation 3 is the PlayStation 4 is $100 cheaper than the Xbox One. And I mean, you know, like they're coming out at the same time, you guys. If you go to the store in November and there's an Xbox One and a PlayStation 4 and one's $100 cheaper, you know, like,
yeah.
And is there crazy pills here?
Is there a Tumblr or anything like that says, that's maybe titled "Dumb Shit Don Mattrick Says"?
Oh, Don Mattrick?
Don Mattrick, yeah.
Dumb shit my Don Mattrick says.com. They're making it into a TV show on NBC this fall. Have we addressed this on the air? What he said about the?
I don't think we have.
Nick, did you? I don't know if you've been keeping up with this, but did you see this quote? Okay, Jeff
Keighley
from Spike TV or whatever, where the hell he's from today, was interviewing Don Mattrick. I don't know what his exact. I'm going to look up his exact title in the organization, but he's been out there saying a lot of dumb stuff. So he is president of Interactive Entertainment Business, Microsoft Corporation. He seems to be like the frontman face for the Xbox One right now, but he keeps saying shit. Like the original announcement, he was talking with Sessler about used games, and he started putting his foot in his mouth. And so Jeff Keighley is interviewing him, and he says, well, what about people who don't have, you know, they're talking about the fact the system has to check in once a day online.
Yeah, that's pretty bullshit. I don't understand why they put that system in place. I mean, it makes sense for the PC, but not for the Xbox so much.
Well, it's directly tied to the content licensing. So they can't make sure that you aren't gaming the system by just getting somebody else's CD and putting it in and playing the game if they don't force you to go online once a day to make sure that you're authorized to play that game. But they, you know, he's interviewing him and he asks him about, well, what about people who don't have very good internet? And Don Mattrick, straight fucking face, says to him, well, we make a system for people that don't have the internet. It's called the Xbox 360. Ooh. And like, the look on Keighley's face, it was just like, I'm sorry.
Let them eat cake.
Like, what the fuck? That's and I was talking with John Sitton last night, and he reminded me that there was an interview around the time the PlayStation 3 came out when the president of Sony was asked kind of the same question in regards to price of what about people who can't afford a $700 console, and he said, we make a console for people who can't afford that. It's called the PlayStation 2. And it was poorly received as a message, and it's just like literally the exact same thing. I'm just like, somebody who is more important than Don Mattrick needs to take that guy into a room and say, don't you fucking talk to anybody anymore. I don't give a shit who you are. I don't give a shit who.
Your press conference priorities have just been revoked.
Yeah. Like, what if it was Steve Ballmer? Steve Ballmer drags him over into a room or something. It's like, listen, Mattrick, you don't fucking talk to anybody. Anybody.
It could seem to be like he's sick of answering that same question over and over. So he's just like, fuck it, I'm just going to give my honest opinion. And that kind of backfired on him.
Yeah, honest opinions don't work out real well on the internet these days. But yeah, I honestly don't know what the fuck they're doing with that guy. And I don't know, there've been a lot of people asking us whether we think that Microsoft will, in light of the fact that Sony is taking a lot of the DRM off of their titles, whether Sony will, or whether Microsoft will walk back this policy of having to license everything online. And I don't know, maybe, but honestly, I don't think they can. I mean, a lot of that stuff has got to be built into your hardware. I mean, I guess I could do like firmware updates and they could change it, just dump that functionality, but they seem really committed to it.
And if they did that, EA would be calling them, no, you promised.
I don't know how that would work. I really have no idea how that would work. And you know what? The other thing that I don't think we ever mentioned, Jason, is that for all of their pushing and for the fact that they're bundling this goddamn new Kinect in with the system and that it probably is what's driving the price up by $100. When you were at E3, I didn't see Kinect game number one.
No, not. I'm sure there were some there, like that Disney thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
but that was it.
Yeah, it was like, they had, I guess, in their booth they had they had like this stage show where they were showing, the Kinect can sense your claw hands and it can tell if you're horny or whatever it does now. Like it can look at your pants and tell what brand they are and send that information back to somebody, or I don't even know, but they, for the fact that they seem to have been pushing the Kinect really hard, it seemed like this would have been their opportunity to really be shoving the new Kinect and going, look how awesome it is. The only thing I could figure out is that maybe it's not awesome. Maybe they're going to shove that thing in with every box and it's going to be just as shitty as the current Kinect.
They're going to take a bunch of Kinects and bury them out in the desert with E.T.
They're digging up E.T., remember? We talked about that in the last show.
Well, they had to make room for the Kinects.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, Nick, I think that in the time that you've been on the show, it's pretty clear you've never made really much bones about the fact that you're much more interested in the PlayStation, the PC than you are in the Xbox One.
Right.
Was there anything
no, the only reason I think I got the PlayStation 3 in the first place was just because Metal Gear Solid 4 was only exclusive to the PlayStation. And
did you see Metal Gear Solid 5?
Yes, I did. It was like Red Dead Redemption, man. I fucking loved it, and the fact it was going to be open world. I mean, okay. We can't fanboy about it too much, I'm sure.
So then I guess my question is, like, what, during the Sony conference or even afterwards, was there anything really big for the PlayStation 4 that really caught your eye?
No, I didn't actually get a chance to see much of the Sony conference. I mean, I skipped straight to the Metal Gear Solid 5 because that's the main one that I was looking forward to the most. But no, apart from that, nothing. Unless, what do you think? Like, do you got any recommendations for me to check out?
Somebody was asking me, I was talking with our friend Hai last night, and he was talking about he was asking, like, what was the best thing that you saw? And I was kind of going through it in my head, and it's funny how a lot of the stuff that we saw is, like, to be announced 2014 release date, like it doesn't have a solid release date or anything. So out of the stuff that we saw, I think one of the things that I'm probably most excited for is Assassin's Creed 4, because
hell yeah,
it's got a release date and it's got pirates, and I'm all into that shit. And it looks, apparently, according to Jason, because he got to see it, you bastard, badass.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I feel like it's been so it feels like we just had Assassin's Creed 3 not long ago. So I guess the novelty hasn't exactly worn off for me. But of course I will buy it and I'll have fun playing it.
But Nick, pirates.
I know.
Nick,
I agree.
Pirates. That and I mean
Nick, pirates.
Oh, if you mention it like that, yeah, that is way cooler. Are they going to keep the wailing in? That's what I'm concerned about, because there was that whole huffle about them getting rid of it because Peter was getting pissed off or something.
I don't know. They took scalping out, so. But I mean, there's kind of limits to how hard you can sanitize scurvy pirates. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Jason said that there's a button to switch to different sea shanties. I'm sure that some of them have to be vulgar and profane, right? Right? I mean,
Oh, I hope so.
It's a sea shanty.
Bunch of like old pirate limericks. Yar, there once was a man from Nantucket.
So let's see that, and then I think that the Witcher 3, the Witcher 3 seems awesome. But you know what? This actually makes a pretty good segue into something that I wanted to talk about. In the middle of E3, next to the Disney Skylanders booth or whatever the fuck that thing was called, there was this giant Disney and Harmonix present Fantasia Music Evolved. And I went by the third day to see if I could get in to see that. It was one of those ones that had a huge line. And I didn't see, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't see this at any of the conferences.
No.
It seemed that for Disney and Harmonix, that's like, would be something that they would maybe put a little money or influence into trying to pimp out beforehand. But I couldn't tell what the hell it was. It was like, what, are you plugging your Guitar Hero instruments to control the alligators and the hippos, or
the brooms?
Yeah, I mean, somebody is on the drums with the brooms or something. But then I watched a video for it, and it turns out that it's like, I don't know, man. Like, maybe I need to get my hands on this, because the people in the video were like, "This is fantastic," and I was like, "This looks like an atrocity to music and nature and all kinds of different things."
Because I saw a video that you sent me, and it doesn't seem to have that many classical pieces put into it, and that's what Fantasia's really about.
Right. I mean, I watched the announcement trailer for it, and it was all these like well-dressed young 20-year-olds like swinging their arms around. So it was, this is a Kinect game, obviously. And then it started like putting up like musician names, and it was like Bruno Mars and fucking Kimbra, and like I was like, I don't even know who any of these people are. Or I know who Bruno Mars is because I don't like him. But then we watched this video of them, and basically it's like they took guitar or Rock Band and Just Dance and kind of smooshed them together with a bunch of kind of top 40s, the radio hits, and so you have to. It's almost like playing Elite Beat Agents, like the DS game with your arms. You have to like swipe your arms to make the different parts of the song go.
And yet it also seems very loose and kind of esoteric the way the controls work,
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of out in the middle of the air, and so for each, for some parts you'll be swiping your arms around. But the weirdest thing about it, and I don't know how far you guys got in this video, but the weirdest thing about it was that at certain points, like they were doing Bohemian Rhapsody, and at certain points during Bohemian Rhapsody, you would get this like choose your style thing where you could go with like the original track, or you could choose like an orchestral version, or you could choose like a heavy metal version, and they would do that, and then the timbre, like the musical styling would change partway through the song. So it's like, okay, all that was regular Bohemian Rhapsody, and now we're in this weird like 80s hair metal version of Bohemian Rhapsody. And
yeah, it's like, here you go. You're going to flail around in front of your Kinect, fucking up the classics.
Yeah, well, plus there were parts in there, where they had like, in Bohemian Rhapsody, there's a fairly awesome and completely badass guitar solo towards the end, and they were like, look, we built this new system so that you can wave your arms around and make your own guitar solo. I was like, yay, you just made the guitar solo for Bohemian Rhapsody. You sound like utter shit. Congrats.
They're talking about how it's a seamless integration between different musical styles, but it's not. Like, it seems really abrupt when you change it from the original track to like a more orchestral version of it. It just sounds like a your CD skipped or something into a different song.
Come on, Nick. Everybody knows that music these days just goes from heavy metal to orchestral. Like if you're not switching from heavy metal to orchestral and back in every 30 seconds, you're just shit as a musician, apparently. But,
yeah, like Trans-Siberian Orchestra is the epitome, the pinnacle of music.
But I think what they're trying to do here is to give you the experience of being a conductor, like that guy in the Fantasia movie who's always in the foreground. But I think they're losing what was so appealing about the original Fantasia was more of a visual experience rather than a film. You could just sit back and just watch this thing take place. By changing the songs from being like very famous classical compositions to crap like Bruno Mars or any modern track, it just completely loses the point of what Fantasia is meant to be.
Well, plus, I remember when I saw it, and I was really excited because of harmonics with the instruments and Just Dance. I thought that, I didn't know it was a Kinect game when I saw it at E3, but what I was excited about was the idea of somebody taking those beautiful animated sequences in Fantasia, then creating maybe a virtual world. I mean, my imagination was just going wherever, but I thought, that if you were to take some of those things and you were to make a game out of conducting it, like you said, along with, because the actual levels, I don't know if they're not done with it, but the level that I saw, there was really no level. It was just like a star field with these big swipes that come up on the screen that you have to do. There was very little in the way of, because when I think of Fantasia, I think of the music, but I also think of all of that, gorgeous, huge, sweeping animation, really creative animated sequences, and none of that seemed to be there in what they were showing.
It seemed more like a screensaver, if anything, for Windows Media Player.
It did. Yeah. It seems like some little, I downloaded a game really similar to that, and it was made by, what is it, Orbit Gum or whatever?
Uh-huh.
And it was just tap on the screen to make quote unquote music.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but it was one we didn't cover. We've covered it now. I maybe need to see a little bit more of it, but this thing, I was really excited of the giant booth that was all classy and said Fantasia, music involved, and had a big line for it. Then when I saw what it actually was, it was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, no, okay.
But hey, maybe if we get it, I think, Jason, we're going to buy one Xbox One, because why the fuck do we need more than one?
Yep.
I think that maybe if we can get this, it might make for a decent Let's Play, because we can fuck up Bruno Mars hard, man. We can make it
in.
Utter and complete balls. All right, well, moving on from there, we've got there's another few news stories. I don't know if we're going to get to all these, but it was revealed that even though the PS4 is not doing the content licensing thing, that the EA Online Pass is still gone. It's dead. This is actually a quote. It's dead, it's deep sixed, it's at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Electronic Arts president of EA Labels, Frank Gibeau, stated plainly yesterday about the company's online pass program. So, I think this is good news for everybody, right?
Sure, yeah. It's dead until they decide to bring it back.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping, this has been a bigger debate and conversation we've been having for a long time, but I really just hope that EA starts making games that you don't want to trade in, as opposed to trying to force you into this weird value add proposition. Because the more I think about all the topics around used games and stuff like this, the more I'm convinced it's just if you just don't make shitty games, then we won't take them back and sell them used or buy them used. I mean, I don't know, does that sound, Nick? I don't know. Does that sound crazy? Does that sound like a crazy thing?
No, that sounds completely logical, but that's not going to happen now, is it?
Well, and some people just need the money, Some people are like, listen, I've played this great game. I'd like to keep it, but I don't really have the money to play this other great game, so I got to take this and trade it in. Yeah. So, I wouldn't say that it's strictly a factor of quality.
Yeah, I guess so. We're gonna circle back to that a little bit later during our questions segment, to probably a little bit bigger conversation. But the only other piece of news that I think that I want to throw out there is apparently 3D Realms is suing Gearbox over unpaid Duke Nukem royalties.
Yeah. Are there royalties?
Well, apparently I'm okay. This is one of those places where my legalese is not as good as everybody else's. But according to this, 3D Realms, apparently as part of the deal when Gearbox took over and resumed development of Duke Nukem Forever, they had a deal that the Gearbox would pay would pay off a $2.9 million loan that 3D Realms owed to an unnamed company.
Some loan shark.
It looks like so now. I'm not really sure how this works, but it says 3D Realms alleges that Gearbox refused to pay out royalties until the cost of this loan is recouped, violating the terms of their agreement. So it sounds like 3D Realm or the Gearbox has said, we agreed to pay off this $2.9 million loan, but we're not going to give you any royalties off of the Duke Nukem Forever sales until we have enough money to pay back this dumb loan that we agreed to take over for you. The best part, though, is that the 3D Realms Gearbox issued this statement, and there's just like scathing verbiage in here. While 3D Realms might not wish the reality that the results make clear, 3D Realms turned out to be the only beneficiary of the deal. Gearbox Software, meanwhile, experienced damage to its credibility and loss of its money. And this final statement, I just love it. Perhaps the lesson learned here is never to enter a gaming to never enter a gaming business deal with a person who has had more lawsuits than shipped games. It's funny about this story is I didn't even really know that 3D Realms still existed.
I know.
Like I assume that 3D Realms as it exists now basically is much like Rage Select exists now. It's like two guys in somebody's living room, like, I don't know, should we sue those guys? Yeah, fuck it. Frank still has like $10,000 from that retainer that we gave him. Let's have him sue those guys and see what fucking happens. Cause when was the last time 3D Realms has done anything at all?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Both of them can just go to hell. Really. Oh, yeah.
So are you saying that Gearbox has honestly, like Aliens Colonial Marines has turned you to fuck Gearbox?
Fuck Gearbox. I'm done.
Well, hey, God damn it, Jason. Did you know that 3D Realms headquarters is in Garland, Texas?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just north of here.
Oh, shit. We should totally drive up there.
Mm-hmm.
We should totally drive up there and, I don't know, maybe
discuss it after the show.
Find you-know-who in the parking lot.
What's that?
Oh, wait, no, 3D Realms is in Garland. That's right. Yeah, Gearbox is up north. Okay, sorry. I got all turned around. Yeah.
See, if they have like an actual business address or something, we can go there and see if it's like a detached shack in somebody's backyard or, I mean, if they actually have an office, should we just go up there and be like, hey, we're video game journalists. What are you doing in there? Let us in.
Their office, quote unquote, is a food court at the mall.
It's just a lady Foot Locker, man. I don't even know what's going on here.
Yeah, okay. By the Wendy's.
Oh man. Well, I like it when video game companies sue each other for really dumb reasons. So this was a fun one for me. But you know what? Let's go ahead and take a break from news and roll on to a couple of emails. We've got see what did I pull out here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 emails. Some are a little bit longer than others, but we should be able to whip on through them. So this first one is from Colin. It says, hello, Jeff and Jason. First off, site looks fantastic, and I'm loving all the new content you've been putting out. Thank you, Colin. Second question, from the brief summaries I've heard about the Sony press conference, because the PlayStation 4 will not have restrictions on selling/loaning used games, will not require an online connection, will not require anything like the Kinect, do you think Microsoft will see the overwhelming positive response to Sony's conference and either, one, delay their console release to remove the features from the Xbox One that the gamers are hating, or two, quickly develop and release an alternate gaming Xbox One without those features? Thanks for answering the question, and I hope you guys can get Nicky Poo or another little British boy for Jason to abuse.
Well, his wish was granted, son of a bitch.
We kind of already talked about this a little bit, but I mean, I think it maybe bears going into a little bit more detail. Like, I don't know, do you guys want to put down some wild speculative predictions about what Microsoft is going to do? Like, are they going to toe the line even if they start getting their asses handed to them by Sony?
I think if anything they change will not be for this generation, but it'll be for the next, kind of like the way PlayStation did. I think PlayStation did its homework in why the Xbox 360 was so successful at its launch. So it's tried to kind of adapt kind of the same strategies for this one. So maybe that's what's going to happen. It's going to keep reversing back and forth.
Yeah, and EA is in bed so deeply with them now that you might think that there's some agreements there to keep doing this.
Maybe, but you have to wonder. I mean, it kind of goes back into what I was talking about before, how we were talking with people at the meetup that we had in LA, and like, I understand. I really do. It's super, super fun when there's a villain and a hero in this kind of thing for you to attach to. And it's very easy to just go, Microsoft is a bunch of corporate tools and they don't understand, man. Fuck them. PlayStation for life. Woo! Like, I understand it's super fun to do that. But Microsoft has also shown that, I mean, the Xbox 360, like, you remember what the Xbox 360 was like when it launched? It was radically different. Like, that's one weird thing about these two consoles, that more than any other generation, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 have very much evolved from what they were when they first launched. And in the Xbox's cases, in some cases, very dramatically have they evolved. Between the UI and the different stuff that's added and the way that they're serving up stuff. I mean, when the Xbox 360 first launched, didn't they have something like a 75 meg or 100 meg limit on what you could download off of Xbox Live?
Did they?
Yeah, like you can. I mean, they've been upping those limits, and then they've been upping the amount of money that you pay for those games. I mean, I know that Jason, you remember the Blades, right?
Oh yeah,
the Blades interface on the 360 back before it was this dumb Kinect thing.
Yeah.
And everything. But that's so. I think that in asking about this, I mean, I'm of two minds. Like, one part of my mind says that if they've really sunk the roots of their DRM policy down into the hardware so that it can't be circumvented, or it can't be circumvented very easily, then they may not be able to get around that. But if they haven't, like, game consoles these days are so iterative, and they're able to support new functionality that, who knows? I mean, at some point, Microsoft might look at the sales numbers, and if they're really shitty, they may go, no exclusive is worth this. No deal with a publisher is worth the amount of money that we're taking a bath on for this console. So put out a firmware update, turn that shit off, let's have a press conference and go, you've spoken, we've listened. Right now, though, it just seems like they're so laser set on doing this that they look really myopic. They look like they don't understand the ire that's being generated out there.
But we're Microsoft. we're Microsoft. Everybody, you're supposed to do what we say. We're Microsoft. Windows. That's us.
Well, then there's a third option that I don't think a lot of people are really. I don't think that a lot of people are really even. I don't even see very many people talking about this. Is that the people that you see that are upset about this on the internet tend to be like tech savvy people who are vocal about their opinions. And we talked before on this show about, there's generally a large silent minority of human beings out there. Like, there's been stories that have come out from time to time about how like 60% of all Xboxes that are online do nothing but play Netflix, because people are just using it as a Netflix box.
Oh yeah, I know plenty of people like that with both consoles, actually. People who bought it just to have one, Mm-hmm. I mean, that's for the PS3 as well.
Yeah, I mean, and at least with the PS3 in the beginning, it was, you were getting a Blu-ray player out of it.
Right.
But the thing is that, everybody likes to point the doom and gloom at Microsoft and say, oh, this is it. This is the end of Microsoft or the end of the Xbox or whatever. But we're forgetting that, I was asking people at our meetup, there are people who are really big fans of Halo, and when Halo 5 comes out, they're going to buy whatever it takes to be able to play the next Halo game. And it's not going to matter that you can't play used games. It's not going to matter that it's got a Kinect that monitors you while you're fucking your girlfriend or whatever it does, or keeps track of how your fingernails grew from day to day or whatever. Like, they're just going to buy whatever the fuck it takes to play Halo 5. In addition, you've got people out there who are fans of Call of Duty, and I'm stereotyping a little bit here, but these people do exist. Like your Call of Duty Madden fans, who that's all they play every year is Madden and Call of Duty. And those people may not even they may not even know that there are any restrictions on the Xbox One. Because Microsoft has never acknowledged it in any of their public conferences. They're not exactly making it like, they're not going to put a big sticker on the side of the box that says, now with intrusive DRM, then you can't play used games anymore. They're going to sell it to you, and you're going to find out after you bought it. So there may very well be enough people who pick up an Xbox One who are just simply not informed about the features of it, who aren't as savvy as the people who are writing us and that sort of thing, that, you know what, it may do fine.
And you got to wonder how people are going to handle this if they don't know about it in advance and they just buy it thinking it's going to work like the 360, and then they run into these problems. Are they just going to shrug it off and go, oh, that's what you've got to do now? Or are they going to be incensed?
Well, I'd be willing to bet that, I don't know. I mean, I think that depends on the individual person. So I don't know about you guys, but I've made large scale, I mean, for fuck's sake, I brought my PlayStation 3 home and I was super excited, and I hooked it up to my TV and I booted it up and I was super excited. And then I realized that there wasn't shit to play on it. Like, oh fuck. So I started playing my PlayStation 2 games on it until, I didn't even have an HD TV for the first 8 months that I had a PlayStation 3. I was playing on a standard definition television because HD TVs were fucking stupid expensive. And then I finally got an HD TV and a PlayStation 3, and I mostly use it to watch Blu-rays because there were very few games. So, but usually when I get burned by something like that, I'm just like, well, shit.
Well, you probably go back to playing your previous console and just wait for things to pick up again. Or like some people will wait a year or two until there's enough games to play on it. Like I didn't own a PlayStation 3 for like 2 years.
Well, that's another thing when you talk about people bringing this stuff home and seeing this is, we all also, I find it funny to think back on some of the stuff that happened this generation that we tend to overlook these days, but you guys remember what the Xbox 360 was like when it launched as far as hardware failure went?
Let's put it this way. I've still got my first generation PS3 functional on my shelf. I'm on my third or fourth Xbox 360.
Yeah. Like remember they were extending the warranty period for from 1 year to 2 years, and then from 2 years to a little bit more, and they were kind of taking a PR bath on that for a while, where you were seeing every couple of weeks you were seeing a story about how shitty the Xbox's 360 is put together, and how anybody who owned an OG 360 knows that it was just a matter of. It was just a thing that you don't ever move the Xbox when it's turned on because it will scratch a giant gouge into your motherfucking games. And it wasn't it wasn't even looked at as oh my god, this is the worst design piece of crap. It was just, well, the solution is, why are you moving your Xbox around while it's turned on? What are you, fucking stupid or something?
Yeah. That actually, that happened to me with Bulletstorm. Mm-hmm. It destroyed my copy of Bulletstorm.
Happened to my friend with Forza. A drunk friend came over and tripped over his network cable and knocked his Xbox down, and just one big, huge gouge right down in a circle around Forza Motorsport 4 or 3, I think.
Yeah, and the Xbox One will actually go, warning, 30 seconds to detonation.
It's the Kinect a little red light comes out of the top of the Kinect and starts going around like, meow, meow, meow.
Yeah. You have angered the Xbox One.
But I don't know. A lot of these things, I'm going to keep bringing this stuff up for a minute here, but you remember when the PlayStation Network was down for 3 months?
Oh, shit.
And it was, and people were like, well, that's it. Fucking PlayStation screwed it up so bad they're going to go out of business. And at no time has that happened. So while I honestly identify with how fun it is to go, fuck you, Microsoft, blah, 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 I think that the Xbox One may have a more difficult time this generation than it did last time around because of people like us who know what's going on with it and are just going to say, I don't want any part of that. but I don't think it's going to be an utter failure. But then, you know what? I was totally wrong about the PlayStation 4 not having, like, shutting the whole DRM thing. So who knows? Maybe Microsoft will.
I'll say
I
this.
think Microsoft would have the balls.
I'll say this. I really hope it doesn't, like, fuck over Xbox so much, because as much as I don't like the Xbox or the thinking behind it, if you get rid of Xbox, then there's really no competition for PlayStation, and then it just becomes boring, and they just become so satisfied with their product, rather than, it's good to have competition, I think.
Nick, there's always that other company. The one with
yeah, whatever, man. Like that's going to be a real threat to PlayStation.
Yeah, you mean the one EA said we're not going to release any games on it?
yeah. There was a story I skipped over where they were like, no, I don't think we're going to do that. Which actually, there was some, it might have been over at, God, I remember it was some developer. I don't remember who it was. I'll figure it out and I'll come back to it later. But at one of the EA things, or the E3 things, I was talking to some developer and he was like, I was asking about the platforms and he's like PS3, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox 360, the PC, and I was like, Wii U? And it was a Need for Speed Rivals, I believe. And I said,
he said, the what? Oh, that thing. No.
And no, what was funny was that he just gave me this look, like, what are you, stupid or something? And he goes, no, not the Wii U. I was like, to answer this guy's question, I really don't know, because this stuff has been, like, I thought we were really boring with gaming now. I thought it was all going to be the same. Like, basically everything's just a PC and shit, but...
No. This split a big fault line right down the middle of it.
Yeah. So I am back in. I'm like, I can't wait to see, especially because Sony put out that commercial. The one about you putting your used games to somebody else or whatever. Or just had the guy hand the game to the other guy. You remember that, Jason?
Yeah, the commercial that was like the addendum to the E3 presentation that was, E3 was, fuck you, Microsoft. And then that commercial was, no, really, fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that that commercial, I mean, like, there was an interview, those guys said, like, yeah, we're just backstage having some fun, somebody filmed it, we decided to make a little thing for it. But I like the fact that they're willing to take shots at Microsoft, because everybody's been very congenial recently, Jason and Nick. It makes me sick how congenial everybody's been with each other in the video game industry. We need some good old fashioned dirty motherfucking punching in the balls going on, and I'm glad to see that that's happening now.
You want to fight like in Anchorman, people showing up with grenades and chains and...
Hell yeah, I do. I want it to be a thing where on the official Sony Twitter and on the Major Nelson's blog or something every week I want them to be taking like shitty sideways pot shots at each other, just because that's way more interesting than when everybody's real nice to each other.
You mean sucking up to each other? That's what it feels like watching these things. Like, especially when it's a really shitty game and they're like, oh, this looks really good. I'm really enjoying what you're going for here. It's like, no, I'm not seeing the same thing you are, clearly.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's move on to our next question. This is a big one. I'm going to have to do a lot of summarization for this one. But somebody sent me a question, and this is from Wes, and he asked why I hate GameStop so much. And we've got a bunch of
that's a nice way of paraphrasing his email.
Yeah, well, I'm nice, unlike Microsoft and Sony. So I'm a nice guy. But I'm going to go ahead and paraphrase some of these points, and I'm going to paraphrase one, and then we'll go ahead and address it. Nick, you don't really have much experience with GameStop.
We don't have GameStop in the UK.
Do you have any used game places? Do you places that buy and sell used games?
Well, we have a big retail chain here called Game that sell used games, but there's one other one called CEX, but that's about it, as far as I'm aware of.
Okay, well, if you have any opinions on this, I'm not sure. I mean, I used to do the used game thing a lot, and I kind of stopped.
Well, I still do that. I still sell or buy used games.
Okay, well, if you want to jump in on any of this stuff, please feel free. The first point that he was addressing was the pushing of pre-orders and requiring a deposit for pre-orders. And his response was basically that you're not required to pre-order, and then it goes into the standard boilerplate about how pre-orders help games get to the top of sales charts and how we should all be appreciative and pre-ordering games and et cetera, et cetera. To which point I say, fuck pre-orders. Like, no other industry in this entire world requires you to pre-buy their shit.
I don't understand it.
Yeah,
like,
you know what? Everybody else has competent buyers.
Right. Like, and you know what? It may be different than this now, but one of the main reasons that I say fuck pre-orders is because GameStop used to use pre-orders as a way to determine exactly how many units to order to their store so that they didn't have to engage in competent business practices because, like, okay, guys, Target is going to sell Blu-rays of The Dark Knight Rises. So Target makes an estimated guess about how many copies of The Dark Knight Rises they're going to need to sell to their customers, and they order them, and they put them on the shelves, and then people buy them, and maybe they sell out, or maybe there's some left over. So when there's some left over, after a while, they put them in the cheap bin, and people sell them. Best Buy does this. Everywhere does this. It's how you run a fucking brick and mortar retail store. You don't require people to come in, and it wouldn't even really be that bad. I'm sorry, I'm getting off a little rant here. It wouldn't even be really all that bad, except that back in the old days when you went into GameStop and, like, a big fucking video game came out, like, you would go in and say, hey, do you guys have God of War 2? And this is not the same GameStop. Every GameStop I've ever been into, you would go in the day that game was released, you'd ask for a copy of it, and the guy behind the counter would give you shit for it. He'd be like, okay, well, did you pre-order it? And you would go, no. And he'd be like, well, if you did pre-order it, then we don't have enough copies to sell you one. And I'm sorry, but if you're a motherfucking game store, you're not allowed to order 17 copies because you had 17 pre-orders and tell everybody else to go fuck themselves. Like, that's terrible business.
That's losing money.
It's not like, yeah, exactly. It's not like, well, you just don't get this game. No, I'm going to get this game. I'm just going to get it from somewhere else. You just don't get the money for it. One guy told me when I was looking for Fire Emblem, said, well, Nintendo only made as many as we pre-ordered. I'm like, what?
That's retarded. It's a complete lie. It's utter falsity. And if they want to order, okay, I would be trying to be fair here. In the recent years, GameStop has become better about actually stocking copies of games so you don't have to pre-order them, and they have become better about trying to give you pre-order incentives in order to pre-order them, like you get a free whatever. But all that stuff also comes at the price of the fact that the developers of the video game are now forced to create these pre-order bonuses, to create content that is being locked out from other users just so that motherfucking GameStop can make you buy something before it comes out. And you know what?
Is GameStop the only video game retail chain in America, or are there other ones that are competing with it?
No, but for a long time, the thing is that there are other places that you can buy video games. But okay, Jason, outside of independents, they're pretty much the biggest, like, game-focused store.
Oh, yeah. Well, they bought up all the other ones. I can't even think. There are a few, independents, but I can't even think of another one that's in business right now.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be Babbage's and
EB, Electronics Boutique. Yeah,
yeah. But they pretty much
Funko Land. Yeah.
So they're kind of the 400-pound gorilla when it comes to, like, straight up game stores. And a lot of times, like, if you're looking for something, I mean, Best Buy, like, if it's a big AAA title, Best Buy generally has it. But if it's not a big AAA title, like, if you're looking for some weird game or an older game or something like that, it used to be, it's getting different now, but it used to be that you would probably need to go to GameStop because they would be the only one who would have it.
What about Walmart? Does Walmart sell video games?
Yeah, but sometimes those big retail stores get a little weird about it. Like, they don't tend to stock them. They aren't as diligent about putting them out the same day they come out. So if you're looking to buy a game the day it comes out,
it might still be sitting back in the back. And plus, Walmart's really kind of puritanical about what they will and won't stock. So if a game has any sort of controversy or something like that, they won't put it on the shelves.
Yeah. And to this guy's point about pre-orders helping games reach a sales chart and helping with subsequent sales, I think that entire fucking system is broken, and I don't want to have any part of it. Like, whenever I see an article where it's like, well, this is the most pre-ordered game of all time, and it's like, well, that just proves how dumb we are as gamers, because you don't pre-buy any other product on the market. I mean, sometimes I've said this before, and people have come back and say, well, sometimes I'll buy tickets to a movie before it comes out. And it's like, that's fine. You buy a $10 movie ticket before it comes out. But expecting you to put this stuff down for a $60 game. And one of the other dirty little secrets that nobody tells you is that a lot of times people will not go and pick their game up at GameStop, and GameStop pockets that fucking cash.
Oh, yeah.
They just take it, and you're done.
And then there's the whole, okay, I'm going to buy a game. They hand you a used one because they make more money off that. No, I'd like a new one. Okay, well, here's a new one. Well, it's new, but, technically one of us opened it up and took it home and played it, but it's still new.
Yeah, like if you open it up and take it home and play it, well, I'm going to... I don't think he actually talks about this, but one of the biggest... Yeah, he doesn't actually put this in here, but one of the biggest problems that I have with GameStop, and if anybody... Jason, I don't know, have you ever worked for, Jason or Nick, have either one of you guys ever worked for like a consignment store or anybody that buys stuff from customers and then resells that stuff?
Yeah, totally.
Nick, have you ever done that? Like, okay, I don't know about your experience, Jason, but back in the old days, I used to work for a guy that did this with computer software. And like, the people who do this, like the successful ones, kind of pieces of shit, man. I mean, like,
yeah.
My old boss and GameStop does the exact same thing. Like, you get a poor kid who comes in who wants to buy a video game, and he brings in like 10 games with him that are brand new and very nice condition, all supreme in the box and whatever. And my boss would look at him and go, "I'll give you $5." And the kid would be like, "Can I get like 10?" And be like, "No."
Because I spent $100 on these, okay? I'm sure they can get like half of that.
Right.
Right. And so then eventually that kid would figure out there's nowhere else to sell your games, and he'd come back to get his $5. And then we would turn around and shrink wrap those boxes and mark them up like 400 to 500% and put them back out on the shelf for sale. And that's the exact same thing that GameStop does. Now, the second point this guy has is that if you want more value from your games, nothing stops you from selling it on Amazon or eBay or Craigslist or things like that. That's great, but like... there's a lot more work involved there, and I think I would be a lot less pissed off about GameStop if they just offered you something reasonable as far as the value of your games.
They give you game credits, right? They must do. Like, store credits where you can use it to buy a recent game or something, right?
Sure, absolutely. They'll give you more in credit, obviously, because then you're just dumping money back into them than they're giving you otherwise. But the thing is that when you talk about buying a game from somebody for $5 and then turning it around, putting it back out on the shelf for $50 like, okay, maybe that's just the way that consignment works, but I honestly think that's shit. And part of that is that customers don't see any other good outlet. Like, they don't want to have to deal with eBay and PayPal and work on all that stuff if they just want to sell a game. Like, they just want to go to a store. But I generally think that it's GameStop makes a lot of fucking money. And most of that money, like 49% of their income, if not more, I think it was 48% was what I heard at one point, but it could be more.
It comes from human trafficking.
Right.
That's the other thing we were going to get to, right?
And blue methamphetamines.
Not even the blue shit, like the cheap shit that's like laced with like strychnine.
Yeah. So I wish that, like, I would have more respect for them if they weren't constantly attempting to gouge the shit out of their customers.
Well, I'm sure that they're going to go under, sooner or later, because one day it will all be digital. Like, you won't have to buy video games from shops. You could just download it straight to your console, and they will go the same way that Blockbuster went.
See, I have a feeling they're going to take this entire next generation as a way to get themselves into the digital space, like buying virtual used games off of the Xbox Marketplace or some bullshit like that. I don't know, but anyway, the third thing this guy has, and this is something that Jason, I know you can certainly identify with, is basically saying, "Oh, well, they upsell. What's wrong with upselling?" And my thing is, I got no problem with upselling, because when I go to Best Buy, every time I buy something, even if it's a soft drink, they're like, would you like to buy an extended warranty? And I go, nope. And they go, okay. And they check me out, and it's good. When I go to, the fast food restaurant, and they're like, do you want large fries with that? And you're like, no, it's all right. And they're like, okay. And they let you on your way. GameStop will not fucking leave you alone.
I'm pretty sure they send their employees to these schools that are run by the Jehovah's fucking Witnesses, where they're like, nope, put your foot in the door, and then they just keep talking and trying to just get in there and invade your brain.
Mm-hmm. And I've had friends of mine where the guy on the other side of the counter at GameStop tried to guilt trip him. I've told the story before. Chuck Christ went to buy a copy of Final Fantasy at a GameStop, and the guy was like, do you want the art book? And he was like, no. And he's like, it's a really nice art book. He's like, no, I don't want the art book. He's like, you should probably check it out. It's a really good book. And he's like, I just really don't want that fucking art book. He's like, well, if you were a real fan of Final Fantasy, you would buy the art book. At which point, Chuck picked up the game and threw it in the guy's face, told him to go fuck himself, because it's one thing if you want to ask somebody, hey, do you want to get a membership? But oh my God, the list of shit they have to go down. Do you want to sell any used games? Do you want to get a membership?
I can't think you can be too harsh on the employees, because they're told to do that by their boss. I mean, I worked a job once where I was told to sell an extra pair of whatever, and I was worried about losing that job if I didn't. Like, they probably had the same thing going on with them, but I can understand how frustrating it is. I mean, employees are probably thinking, this is bullshit. I wouldn't buy this fucking art book either, but I have to, otherwise I could lose my job.
Don't get me wrong. I understand. And I don't blame the employees. Well, I blame some of the employees, but I know that those employees are told that they're secret shoppers, their managers are watching, and if they don't do that, they're going to lose their jobs. That's why I don't like GameStop as a company, not like Joe who works at GameStop.
Exactly. No, I hate them all.
Oh, really?
I'm telling you, man.
And it's funny because for a while there, when I would go in there, they were actually just selling me the game, and they had sealed copies of that game, and they would pull them out and they would hand them to me, and that was fine. But the biggest problem that I have, and the reason I keep harping on this, is because GameStop may have gotten better, but they burned me. They burned me real fucking hard back when they were kind of the only game in town, or I didn't have a GameFly membership, or I wasn't doing as much online ordering or things like that. Like if it was Tuesday and you hadn't picked up a game and you really needed to go buy it, and it was a not big AAA first party title, you had to go to GameStop. And it's like every time you go in there, it was just a fucking ordeal. So also this guy goes into he's briefly tries to kind of make the case that, let's see, let me just make sure that I'm saying this correctly. Yeah, there's two statements here that I really don't agree with. One is that he says that games don't I've said before that games don't depreciate. He says that's not true. It released when games are brand new, the disc is unscratched, manual artwork are pristine. When a game is older and used, the case or manual could be damaged or just smell like pet smoke, or scratch disc may not work, often has slower load speeds. A few months into most game, the online community is dead. I think that's, sorry, Wes, but I think that's like a crock of steaming shit. It's not like when the disc gets scratched on a video game, the video game looks worse. It's a binary state. It either works or it doesn't work. And I don't know about you guys, but I give a fuck about whether the manual is in good condition. Most games don't even have manuals anymore. It's just a box with a game in it. So as long as the game functions, it either functions or it doesn't function. And if you're getting sold a scratched copy of a game, then, when was the last time you guys even had a scratched game? Jason, Nick, my games go from the package to the Xbox and back again. I don't use them to scratch my dog's head or anything. Like, I don't frisbee with them on the weekends or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't shop at GameStop, so I don't have scratched games. I've bought new for the longest time now. Now I'm doing GameFly, but usually I get the games as they're just coming out, so I haven't had to deal with that in a long time. So, haven't really had to mess with it in a while.
Any games that I get a scratch are probably ones that I bought, a few years ago, and they're probably scratched due to how old they are, so I don't have any.
And I don't know how, I kind of treat my discs I mean, I don't treat them super well. I'll stack them up.
You're like an animal. It really bothers me.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
You never said anything.
I see him stacked. It's your choice, but I see him stacked up. I saw Red Dead in just a stack of discs, like a common fucking AOL disc.
But you know what?
Savage.
I've never had a console game in the current generation of. I mean, I don't even know if I had one on the PlayStation 2. I have very rarely have I ever encountered a console game that was scratched to the point where it didn't function.
Okay, that has happened to me a number of times. Yeah.
Was it in your Xbox? Were you moving your Xbox around?
No. It's happened on both to me, and usually it was something I bought from GameStop back when I was still shopping there.
Yeah.
But don't they have those machines that can get rid of scratches now?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of buff the CD and they make it a little bit weaker, but I don't know. The last thing, we've been on this for so long, but there's one last thing that this guy says and that I really want to talk about. And he says, without used games, there's nothing to drive prices down on a game other than lack of sales. I think that lack of sales is a far more compelling reason for a developer to cut you a deal on a game than GameStop. Because if anything, I feel like GameStop artificially inflates the price of games. Like they're still selling brand new games 3 or 4 months out for $55 or $50 for a $60 game, whereas I was just looking at stuff, the online sales or the weekly sales that happen on Steam or something like that. I mean, if honestly, if the used game market was the only thing that was driving prices down that low, why would you have these weekly Steam sales where you're getting stuff that's 6 months old that's like $20? Or Amazon sales where you're seeing stuff that came out a month or two ago where you can get it for 24 hours for like $30. Like, I honestly think that the market is smart enough to understand that just because that even if there wasn't a used market, that there's only so many people who are going to pay full price for a game, and if you want more sales at a certain point, you have to start lowering the price, and that happens all the time. And I think that if GameStop went out of business, it would still happen. Honestly, I'm sorry, I might have got a little bit more angry about this email than I originally intended to. But, I really don't. I mean, like the thing for everybody remembers is, it's different for everybody. Some people have a GameStop in their neighborhood that's really nice, and the people there are really friendly, and they're friends with you, or they're your friends who work there, or whatever, and you go in and you have a good time. I have had generally nothing but bad experiences from the GameStops in Austin, Texas, and that is why I don't go there anymore, because at a certain point you go, I don't want to go here anymore. I'll figure out a different way to make this happen. So, yeah, that's GameStop. I still don't like them, just mostly at this point because I don't have to have any reason to like them. Amazon exists. We live in a world with Amazon, you guys, and GameFly, and Best Buy, and lots of other places to go buy your video games. So, well, I tell you what, let's do 2 more emails real fast. We're running a little bit long here today. I tell you what, we'll just do this last one. We'll do one more. I like this question. It's short, it's to the point, and it's really kind of strange. Sean asks, what would you need to be in an Ant-Man video game to give it a full price?
Wait.
Okay.
Wait, what? What was the question again?
What would you need to be in an Ant-Man video game to give it a full price?
Upskirts.
That's a very succinct answer. So you want to get real small as Ant-Man and look up ladies' dresses. That's
pretty much what you do if you have that superpower. All this fighting aliens, that's comic book bullshit. Mm-hmm. Upskirts. Full price.
Nick, what do you think?
I guess easy access to the women's changing room, I think.
Boy,
there you go.
Just mine's directly in the gutter, huh?
Exactly.
What do you think you're talking to? What podcast is this? You can have organ music play us out and you say namaste? No.
So basically, developers, you heard it here first. If you make an Ant-Man game, you need to be able to fly Ant-Man around on the back of a flying ant and look up skirts. And I'm guessing down tops as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine
as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it, you guys. That's all the time that we have here today. So if you have a question, we have kind of a weird bunch of questions, but if you have a question, send it in to rageselect@gmail.com. We're going to be reading fewer questions here, but you know what? Send them in. I'm going to pick the best, like 3 or 4 every week to read on the email segment. Nick, thanks for dropping by, man.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're going to see you in, it's like 3 weeks at RTX?
Yeah, I arrive a little bit early. I'll be flying to Texas. I should be arriving there at 8 p.m. on June the 24th, which is a Monday. So, you guys up for a pint? Let me know, and we'll hit it up.
We'll find a nice co-op or fighting game, and you and Jason can play it, and I'll just I'll record it.
Oh God,
I'm so dead.
All right, everybody. Well, check back every Monday for our podcast. This week, we're going to have videos for The Last of Us, as well as Indie Game Friday and Sequential Saturday and Sparkle Fandango on Sunday and all that stuff you've come to know and love. Keep an eye on the website over the next month because we're going to have some crazy stuff happening.
the classiest podcast on the internet. Namaste.